Absolutely.
How you been?
Can't complain. Grinding, man. Sport exposure. Taking over my life.
Well, this is pretty dope. I remember you telling me you was gonna pop this off and you had something cooking up, but you got it started real fast. I see the setup and the vision, and yeah, like this is amazing.
I'm thankful. I am thankful. Well, welcome back to Sport Exposure Podcast, you guys. We're here yet again to sell sports stories. I have Chris Peace here, former UVA alum, Giants, Chargers.
Yeah.
Now you're working in finances, right?
Yeah.
We giving it back. We trying to find new paths for our calling and all of that. You have an amazing story. Just the things that you've gone through, where you started from, where you are now, the journey. So let's get into it. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. When you hear celebrating triumphs and then learning from defeats, what comes to mind for you?
I'd probably say, that's a tough question. I got like two moments in my life when I think of, overcoming trumps.
Talk to me.
I probably say I like to tell people I feel like really Chris Peace really began maybe when I was 15. I kind of packed my bags one day, moved out from my mom's house in Chesapeake, and kind of didn't look back and went and stayed with my uncles.
Was that your decision?
That was my decision.
Okay.
So background story: born in Norfolk, kind of was raised beginning years in Chesapeake, and I was staying with my mom and her boyfriend, and long story short, just, I didn't really see eye to eye with her boyfriend, just things weren't really working out there. And, I always kind of looked up to like my aunt and uncle from a distance and kind of had a convo one day, and they just said, hey, if you want to give it a try over here, you're more than welcome. And
that's a very mature conversation at 15.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I had like kind of like dreams, aspiration, goals, and I figured, I could probably get there with them and their vision. And, kind of one day, yeah, just pack my bags. I said, hey, I'm gonna do it, and yeah, it all worked out at the end.
Wow.
But it was definitely it was a big hurdle. Moving from Chesapeake, kind of leaving like friends behind, everything I knew, and then going to Newport.
And for you making that decision on your own at 15, that's unheard of.
Yeah.
But you knew what you wanted to do. You knew where you wanted to go.
Oh, for sure. Like, football was definitely like an outlet. Like, that was always the big passion. That was something I knew I always wanted to do. My uncle was a big believer in me. Growing up, I didn't have too many people that believed in me much.
I can attest to that.
It was, I ain't gonna say negative energy, but I didn't have like people
find a way out of nowhere, man.
Yeah. So, he said like, come over here. I'm gonna show you the way. I'm gonna, guide you through the steps. I'm gonna put you around some good people. And, I kind of believed in him, and like he took me under his wing.
You said this was your uncle?
This is my uncle. So actually my aunt's husband, but blood really wouldn't make us any closer.
So that was your father figure?
For sure. That was really the first father figure like in my life. My granddad had always been around from my dad's side, but my uncle, that was like the first guy, like, I can really say, I looked up to. This is like what a man should look like, and like,
you the way.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I didn't have my dad growing up, so I didn't really know what that father figure really looked like, especially within age range.
Right.
But, looking at him, like, he came from a tough background, he started off rough. He, even served some time, and then he kind of changed his life around. Him and my aunt shared a kid, and like he handles responsibilities, like he really showed me how to rock out like a man and like, really carry yourself with confidence.
That's a blessing that you had that, because a lot of us, both women and males, don't have those figures in our life.
Yeah.
So we're talking about going from Norfolk to Chesapeake to Newport News. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How many high schools did you go to?
3.
3. And what time frame was that like?
So I think 2011, 2012 was Indian River, and then like in the middle of my 10th grade year, I just up and left and I went to Ward. That was kind of a culture shock for me. Like it was different from Chesapeake.
Tell me about it.
Well, I ain't saying like Chesapeake, it's like soft or like any of that, but it's Newport News, it's different. Yeah,
like it's a little gangster over there. That's what we getting at.
Yeah, it was a little rougher around the edges. When I first got there, first day of high school, I ain't know anybody, so I'm already nervous. And this back when I'm way more introverted, didn't really talk, and like just taking it all in, and I'm like, oh, like what my uncle bring me into for real.
So how did that process going from 3 schools in 4 years, from Chesapeake to Newport News, how did that shape you as a player or your resilience? Because that
Well,
takes a lot
oh
to
yeah,
be able to do that.
oh yeah, for sure. But I think like it was a blessing in disguise, and like you get to see like how different people from different backgrounds, cities operate. And like football teaches you that too, especially at
It
a higher level
does.
you go. You notice like people from all over come, and you can kind of adjust quicker. You're gonna get teammates from different situations, different families, different races.
Would you say that, adapting to that or that transition helped shape Chris Peace as your character?
For
Like,
sure.
outside of football? Talk to me about that.
For sure. I would say, coming from that Newport News background, like it's predominantly, I'll say more black in this area,
Right.
and I got comfortable with that. When I got to UVA, that's a PWI, it
It's
was
night and
very,
day.
yeah, that was a big
It's night
culture
and
shock for
day,
me too,
yeah.
and like, I didn't really, I guess, like, growing up, I didn't have too many white friends. I didn't have too many white surroundings around me. So that was the first time I was exposed to that. And out in the real world, it's predominantly white, especially in a lot of business settings and just kind of major career settings. So it allowed me to adapt. The older I got, it
Right.
also made me comfortable being uncomfortable as well.
That's a gem right there. Y'all heard that? Say that again for me. Please say that again for
Being
me.
comfortable, being uncomfortable.
You have to do that. You have
Yes.
to do that. Talk to me about your recruitment process.
So, pretty much non-existent. It was the kind of hopes and dreams like everybody else. You want to go to Florida State, USC, all that. I'm gonna keep it a bean. I was not that good, to be honest. My junior year award.
Did you
Well,
know that? Did you weren't that good? Or this is just
uh,
in hindsight looking back?
uh, little at the time, I knew I wasn't, the 5-star recruit. But looking back, nah, I wasn't just that good. I'm gonna just be real. I was taller. I worked hard, but my
That
junior
sets you apart
year,
though. That ethic.
for sure, it laid like the foundation. But I look back my junior year when I had a touchdown. I was playing receiver. I had to change positions, and I didn't even want to play defense. They made me do that. Still, I went to Denby, had a successful season.
Hmm.
Still wasn't getting the recruitment I really felt like I deserved. And yeah, I think signing day was in February,
It's
and
usually like that
a
first
month
week in
away, I got
February.
0 offers. Then I get Norfolk State, and no shade on Norfolk State. I was like, dang, like everybody want to play for like a big,
Right.
Power
We
5
all hate you.
school.
Right, right.
I had a best friend at the time. He was the number one player in the nation at one point, and he showed my film to UVA. He was already committed there, and Coach Hagan's, Mike London at the time, came down to Denby High School, and they kind of gave me the opportunity of a lifetime, and it
So
was
that's off of your best friend. Your best friend did that for you.
for sure. He showed the highlights. I'm pretty sure without him, kind of tugging a little
Shout
bit,
out to
that
the
wouldn't
best
happen. Yeah. Oh
friend,
yeah,
because
for sure.
that's
Yeah.
huge.
And like at the time it was like a dream come true. Like, I'm like signing shipyard papers, applications because like I'm like I can't afford
This is
school.
this is
Yeah.
what my life about to look like.
Yeah, like,
Almost,
and then
almost,
like I remember
almost.
they like, said like come up for the visit and like, to be honest, I didn't even know if it was scholarship. I thought it was gonna be a walk on. And I kind of had to ask even after I committed, like, yo, is this a
This for
scholarship? This
real.
real? Yeah.
This for real. So going from being unranked and you end up being making all SEC team
Yeah.
while you were at UVA. That's an incredible achievement. Huge.
Hard as hell.
What are the key factors that contributed to your success during that transition?
People really say like I think consistency, hard work, of course, everybody says that. Really it's just like a mindset. Um
I mean, obviously you work hard. You said that. You
yeah,
always
that
had that.
it was a mindset. Like I always believe. Like once I got to college, like I was like, all right, you made it this far. I had a big chip on my shoulder 'cause I felt like a lot of people back home didn't think I
What is he
deserved to
doing
be
at
there. Yeah.
UVA?
And I
Yeah.
was like, all
And
right,
you hear
bet.
that in the back of your head?
For sure. And I think that's one thing that always carried me forward. I always kind of like played angry, had the chip. So like I used that fuel, like, all right, like people don't think I deserve to be here. People on the team right now probably don't think I deserve to be here. Like, I'm gonna show you.
For sure.
So like every single day, like, I was real consistent in everything I did. Like it's boring as hell, but like literally like I'm waking up the same time every single day. I'm watching more film than the next person every single day. I spent all my
Did
time.
you go in as a freshman with this mindset, or that's something you had to adapt to?
No, I came in with that mindset. And that's kind of how I give that credit to getting recruited. Like that transformation to Warwick and Denby was a big change too. I put on like 50
So you
pounds that
used
year.
to
Yeah,
adversity.
for sure.
So it was nothing.
Nah,
Nothing new to you.
nah.
So the mentality coming as a freshman, talk about your freshman year, your sophomore year. Because a lot of freshmen, did you play your freshman year?
Nah, it was a red shirt.
So talk about that. You go from red shirt to all ACC team. Now you're in the league.
Yeah. It happens real fast. It happens real fast. And it's a process with that, like what specifically would you want to know, like through that?
When was your breakout year in
My
college?
junior year. I went from kind of like my sophomore year. I was a 3-year starter. My sophomore year, we were terrible. We were 2-10.
Was that the coaching change year?
Yes, that's Bronco Mendenhall first came there, and we thought we was gonna go 10-2. We was happy for the change, and that was my first year starting. We were young, small, went 2 and 10.
But you were starting.
I was an average ACC starter that year. So
That's
that next
still an
year,
achievement.
yeah. That next year, everybody's kind of on edge. Everybody's walking around with like a fire under their ass because, like, nobody wants to go 2 and 10 again. And I knew time was running out. I got 2 years left. I'm not really getting draft consideration yet. I got to have a big year.
Mhm.
So that junior year, I had, I think 8 sacks. I led the ACC at my position for linebackers. And I think that was my breakout year. Started, really walking like, head high, like, all right, like I belong here. I'm the man. Like,
So would you say that the coaching change played a role in your breakout year?
for sure, because that was the first time on a college level where I feel like I can, relate to the coaches. They're confident in me. They want me here. They're a believer in me. And I only had that with one coach previously ever.
That plays a huge role.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
just being around anybody or just people that believe in you, like you liable to jump through the moon.
And
Like,
that was the first time, when you get the higher you go in sports, you see more of the business side. And like that was the first time I seen like coaches on the college setting, like inviting you to their house, really taking the time to get to know you,
playing the hell
checking
out of
on
it.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it made me go that much harder for them, for sure.
Right, right. So when did you realize that you had a shot at the NFL? So your breakout year was your junior year. So when it was just like, oh shit, I could do this.
So after my junior year, agents started like talking to me, texting me, calling me. The school makes you sign an insurance claim, like just in case you get hurt. And I'm like, all right, this is real thing. I got a shot here. All-star game invitation, watch list start coming out. And you can look up and kind of see on Google. It's not gonna be accurate, but hey, this is draft boards, this idea where you might go.
So how did you feel when you start seeing like just the first agent to reach out to you? How did that make you feel? Like that the time you saw the call on your phone, got off the phone, I can only imagine what that feeling was like. It's just a conversation.
I started looking ahead. I started looking on Twitter, I started looking online, like, all right, like, boom, like, I'm here, like, like I'm gonna get drafted next year. I'm going like all this is gonna happen instead of like living where my feet were. It was a lot of pressure. I don't think I really handled it the best. My senior year, we had a good season. Won 9 games or 8 games. Had a very similar year, led the ACC linebackers and sacks. But, I didn't take that big jump, to like really solidify myself, I don't think. But I played good enough to give myself a chance at the next level. But it was the same thing, man. It was pressure the whole season. Like you're looking at the draft boards, these agents, you're asking them, all right, what the team's talking about. Scouts coming to practice, watching you, it was
really
pressure.
diving into it, right? So you were undrafted. You didn't get drafted.
No, I didn't get drafted. So right after, so it happens real fast. So right after that last bowl game, you sign your agent contract, they ship you off to training. I get to training, I got the East-West.
How quick was that ship off?
Oh, you said how fun was that?
No, how quick was that?
Like probably like a 3-day turnaround. Like, yeah,
like,
it
was
quick. Like, yeah, he was like, all right, like sign, like, hey, like you're gonna be here. You're going to Philadelphia, Newcastle, Pennsylvania, actually, and train here for the next 2 months for the draft, combine, all that. Get there, pop my hamstring like the second, third day. That hurt a lot. I feel like that definitely altered things. I wasn't able to play in an all-star game. Came back a little shaky. Had an average pro day, but in my head, I'm like, all right, like, well, you got 2 good years of production. You'll still get drafted late rounds. And my agent's like, hey, you still have a shot. And draft day, that was a whole experience. I knew I wasn't going the first 2 days, so I didn't pay too much attention. But that third day, you start getting teams calling you like on spot. Hey, we're next up on a pick. We might pick you. They're gonna lie and gas it up a little bit.
Uh-huh.
When I got to about the sixth or seventh round, started reality started sitting in. Start like blacking out a little. Like, all right, like I'm probably gonna go undrafted. And what that process looked like, usually before the draft ends, if you're a high priority free agent, your agent has options available. He lets you pick. At the time, it's like 20 picks left. I'm like, all right, I'm probably not getting drafted. He's like, where do you want to go? I was so disappointed. I was like, you just pick, man, wherever I got the best shot. And I remember that day crushed me, man. Like so many people saying congrats, but like in my head, I'm just like, I felt like a winner. And at the time, yeah, looking back, that was ungrateful, because this is a blessing. I still got an
Right.
opportunity.
Right.
I
But I
look
mean,
back.
you're still human.
Yeah,
We
for
still
sure. Oh,
feel.
yeah.
I mean, shit happens.
But
Yeah.
right after that happened, like, I gave myself a day or two, to be a
Just
Debbie Downer, pity. And then
yeah.
like I was like, all right, like you got a kid on the way, you're gonna like, just quit. You're just gonna like, be
That's a
another
lot of
guy that
pressure
gets.
at once.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like it was the reason I made the team. Um, I gave myself 2, 3 days. I was like, all right, cool. Like you've been in this position before. Like, don't listen to the noise. Don't look at the statistics. Like you can do this. So
So like and I'm hearing in your stories from high school to college to now being a father to going undrafted, that whole process. Where did you get that grit from? Like it takes a lot of mental strength to fight through those type of situations.
my grandma. I definitely like when I talk when I even think of the word hard work, she just comes right to mind. So my grandma, she held down the fortress not only for me, but her 3 kids, my mom, aunt, uncle. She's single mom, immigrated from Panama, had 2 jobs, and
A queen. I love
people
it.
people laugh at me. They call me a crackhead because I wake up 4 in the morning, work out. But like literally, her day started every single day, 4 or 5 a.m. She'll
That's
walk.
why you do that.
Yeah, like
I be looking like,
oh yeah,
man,
she
this nigga up
like
before me. I be up early, like, yo, he already in the gym pumping. Like, it's 5 o'clock.
yeah, she used to start her day 4 or 5 a.m., cook us breakfast, walk to work, go to her second job, walk from there. And like she did that every day, consistent and never complained once. And like you look at like these like workouts for football, people complain over this and that. I'm like, dude, like this is
Yo,
light.
oh,
Like, this is
yeah. It could
this is a
always be worse.
privilege. Yeah, this is a privilege. Some people, think of my grandma, you gotta go out there really bust your ass like in real
A
life.
queen. A queen. I
Yeah.
love that. So the NFL is known obviously for its intense competition and physical demands. How did you deal with the mental challenges of being a professional athlete?
A lot of woof, man. A
I mean,
lot
it
of
sounds like you were built for it. Clearly, you were built for it. Shout out to grandma. But how did you deal with that? Because it's a lot of things that I know from being an athlete, from working in the space, that as an athlete, as a male, we don't give you space to really feel what you need to feel. We don't give you the space to talk about your emotions or talk about your mental health or talk about, because being an athlete comes with a lot of mental toughness and emotional toughness. So how did you channel that?
For me, man, that was real tough when I got there because, like you said, it's a competitive environment. Every day you could be gone. Like my first day in NFL Chargers meeting, I'm sitting on the floor. I don't even got a seat yet. And when I get there, I'm like, all right, like I'm good. I was the man back in college. Like I was one of the guys on my team. Yeah, everybody there was the man on their team.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody there was that guy. So every day you're competing with the best of the best, and like it definitely takes a mental constraint. Like it takes a mental fatigue on you because, like I said, every day is a competition. Yeah, like every day they getting rid of people. Like it was crazy to see and witness that. Like you talking to a guy, chilling, getting buddy with him, and the next day it's a trash bag in his locker room. You're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
You mess up on a play, especially if you're an undrafted dude, like you're gone the
Ain't no
next
room
day.
for error.
Yeah, like I think like when I started there, the Chargers, it might have been about 25, maybe 30 undrafted guys. Only 2 made the team. Like they're getting rid of people like that. You don't got time to like take a break.
Mm-hmm.
Every day, you got grown men with kids, families, wives, like really like fighting
And
every day
have
for
been
a
there for
meal.
years.
Yeah. But you just lock in. You just gotta like have a tunnel vision to it, man. And like really, like I said, just
So how did you lock in? Like, what did you do to? On top of that, you got a child on the way, so you got all types of outside factors that's playing a part in your mental, your emotional, your physical play, because all of that plays a part. So how did you just lock in and really jump into that tunnel vision? Because that's
you just man, I don't know, man. I locked into a mode, I took it back. It was similar to like my junior to senior year in high school. Like I asked myself, like, hey, do you really want this? Like, you know, and
how
I
bad
looked
you.
myself, yeah, how bad do you really want this?
Right.
Like, really? It was easy in a sense, like to make that decision. So, I'm looking at other guys, like you gotta look at everybody like food, really. Like, all right, cool. Like, I know I want this real bad, better than they do, better
Hmm.
enough to the point where, like, hey, like, I'm gonna make sure I know these plays more than everybody else. I'm gonna make sure while they out on the weekends, I'm gonna stay in my room, catch up, and take care of my body.
And those small
Yeah,
adjustments play a
small things. Yeah,
huge.
I'll make sure I'm the first one there. I'm gonna make sure I'm the first one getting out my seat. I'm the first one in the room in the meeting. I'm gonna stay later than everybody. You know, coach is gonna see me more than you.
That's but in a way in
Yeah,
that setting you got kind of got to kiss some ass.
yeah. Oh yeah, and you
I
gotta
mean,
make
in the
sure
sports industry, period.
you
But
gotta make
that's
sure you're a likable person too. Yeah.
I don't think that people know that though.
Oh yeah, it's easy to cut an asshole. It's easy to, fire an asshole. It's easy to fail an asshole.
Exactly, exactly. So, what was the biggest challenges you had to overcome in the NFL,
The biggest
or
challenge,
a few of your biggest challenges?
I'll say two things that come to mind. So, long story short, it's almost like getting traded. When you get cut and you're on a waiver, you go on waivers, and then if a team could pick any team can pick you up in 24 hours. That happened to me after 4 or 5 games with the Chargers. They were going to bring me back. They kind of use this as like a six-man tool to keep you on the roster.
Hmm.
And, I'm going in the room, back to the facility, sign the papers to get back on the team. And like my agent called me, he's like, hey man, good and bad news. Bad news is I need you to pack everything, pack up your house. You gotta go to New York, but you're gonna be on the Giants now. And at the time, I didn't handle that well because, I felt established. I was like, that was sudden change, real life. I'm just like, yo, what is
That was
going
happening.
on?
That was
Like, yeah,
happening
like,
now.
yeah,
Now.
like, so you have no say. So, it's a professional setting. So 24 hours, everything I knew for the past 4 or 5 months with the Chargers gone, erased. All right, you're with the Giants now. And yeah, you got to pick up. They expect you to know that playbook that same week, adjust, everything. That was the toughest challenge for me. I didn't do so well with that.
So, how did you overcome that situation?
I mean, long story short, it's harsh, but I mean, I didn't. Obviously, they didn't bring me back. They didn't keep me around for, the end of that second year. And then staying healthy. When I got hurt, that changed things too. They're not paying you, you're getting compensated pretty well. So they're not going to continue to pay an injured player, especially an unproven one.
Right. Got to make
Um,
sense for them. It's the business.
yeah, best availability is availability,
Right.
Like as soon as you get hurt, they're looking for your replacement.
That's a lesson. And that's a lesson that goes over into life too, I feel like, because I feel like as athletes, we just think it's a cakewalk. We think everything's a cakewalk, but we learn so much while being an athlete. We learn so much from our experiences in sport that story itself is the same thing in corporate.
Yeah.
I could die today. My job's gonna be posted tomorrow. I
Yeah.
don't care how good of a worker I was, how much people cared about me. And same with being an athlete at collegiate level, professional level. Because now, even I feel like during my time is when we started realizing that scholarships aren't full anymore.
Yeah.
Like, same thing. If you're not producing, if you're not making me money, if you're not winning me games, that's my salary that's on the line.
I don't think a lot of athletes don't understand till they get out and lose it. It's a privilege to play, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So after leaving the NFL, you return to UVA to
Yeah.
pursue a coaching career. How was that transition and how did coaching allow you to stay connected to the game?
It was a tough transition in the sense that I wasn't ready to move on yet. And like
He was
that
kind of
was the
forced into
closest,
that.
yeah, that was the closest, way I can stay attached to the game. And I was still young. It reminded me every day,
So
like
before that situation, did you ever have dreams to coach? Or it wasn't
it.
really a thought in your mind yet?
Honestly, if I'm being real, it was the only thing I thought I knew how to do or I was comfortable with doing. It was comfortable, you know.
Of course.
So I was like, I could do this. I can ease right back in. I can go back with Broncos staff. I'm familiar with them. It'll be okay.
Hmm.
So that was the decision I was comfortable making at the time.
So how was that transition? You said it was a transition coming back. How was that? Like you said, you just wanted to be attached to the
Yeah, but
game.
it was
But
tough.
now it's a whole different perspective. You go from playing to coaching.
Yeah,
You're not suiting up anymore. Like
yeah,
you could work out at 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, but you're not preparing yourself to play anymore.
yeah,
So coming out of so abruptly from New York, help me through that process. Cause I know it didn't just come overnight. And on top of that, did you have your child at that
yeah,
moment? So
yeah,
now you're a father and everything you do depends on this blessing that you have into this world. So now you have to adjust your thought process. You have to adjust um literally your entire life because you are an active father.
yeah.
So talk to me about that.
So let's see. So just to lay the groundwork, 2019 rookie year, 2020, I was still in it with the Giants. I got cut right before training camp began in August. Then I'm kind of just trying out for teams in limbo for the rest of the year. And then 2021, same. Like first half of the year, I was still trying out. And I was just like, all right, like teams just aren't going to sign me. Maybe I'm like damaged goods. I don't know. Moved on. And through that whole, I guess year, yeah, like, I was with my son a lot. It was tough because I felt like he saw me, through the worst of times, mentally. Just
I
I'm
mean,
there, but some days you're not there.
that's part of being a father, though,
Yeah.
being a
Um,
parent.
and eventually I was like, all right, like, that mentality kicked back in. All right, like, peace, you got to do something now. Like, what are we gonna do now? So I was like, why not? All right, let's move back to Charlottesville. It's like almost, a newer hometown in a way. People know you there, you fit right in, your kid will love it. It's a good environment for them. And, that coaching process, it was hard because it was hard for me to understand, all right, like, hey, just you were a good player doesn't mean you're gonna be a good coach yet. What you did as a player does
Too
not
totally
equate
right.
to a coach. Like you said, you're not the one playing anymore. You got to teach them how to play. But it taught me, I think, how to be a better dad at the same time. Because you're basically raising other grown men, young
Yes, I'm
adults.
glad you said that because
Yeah,
I also say all the time that coaching is an extension of your parents.
for sure.
And I wish that coaches would take that more serious because the same way that you have a little boy at home that's watching you is the same way that you may have a 24-year-old or a 22-year-old that's
Yeah,
watching your every move. And the fact that you took that adjustment and you became a better father from that speaks volumes to coaches out there that may or may not understand. It's a commitment.
it is. And one thing I think I made a decision when I was coaching, I was like, I'm gonna be different in a sense. I don't think coaches are all the time honest with their players. And I always made sure, I think that's what the players I coach respected about me. I kept it honest with them at all times. Like, this is what it is, this is what it
Because
ain't,
that's what
this is
we
what I
need.
envision. Yeah. Even if it hurts their feelings, they'll respect it more.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you said that as well because, like, even in the spaces that I've worked in, I've gained so much more respect from the athletes or the kids or even the people working next to me just by being my. Because I don't sugarcoat anything. What I
Yeah.
say is what I say, how I say it, whether it's blunt, it's accurate, and it
Yeah.
may not be the way that you want me to say it, and it may not be the way the next person's gonna say it. But I know with our generation, it needs to be said to a place where you're gonna receive it
Yeah.
and coaching and just working in the sports industry period, that's a skill that people have not adapted to, and that just comes with the evolution of sports, evolution of the game, evolution of the generations. And did you catch a bit of that? Because it was a huge generation shift.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing I notice now, I think more of us are starting to coach, and I mean like actually athletes. I know one thing that confused me while I was playing in NFL, I felt like a lot of coaches never played at a high level. And as an athlete, I think it's harder to respect or, really gravitate towards a coach that never did it.
Absolutely, because I had that issue.
Yeah, that's
Like,
tough. Yeah, like,
where
someone's
you
like
been?
yelling at you, coming at you, kind of crazy, critiquing you, and you're just in your head, like, all right, can you do it? Like, have you done this before? Like,
So, what role did you play for the athletes when you were at UVA? Because every coach has a role. You got one coach that might cuss you out. You got another coach that might smooth it over. You got one coach that's this is what he said, but this is what he meant. So what role did you have being a former alum, being fresh out the league? You had professional experience.
Yeah, I was fresh in it where most of the kids already knew about me, or even at the time, maybe a few of them actually played with me too.
That's dope.
So I think my role as a coach or what I did well, one, yeah, honesty. Two, I could do the drills just as good as them. And,
Did you get out there with them?
yeah, for sure. Cleats on and everything. But, a lot of coaches sometimes, because I don't think they can properly show you, it gets, kind of lost how you're supposed to do it. I can show them exactly how it's supposed to look and how I want it to
And
look.
that put you at an advantage.
Yes. That and I was a try hard player. I was a try hard coach. Like one thing you were going to do was like play with effort for sure. Like you could be. I'm a firm believer with football. I think you can turn a sorry football player into a great football player just by effort. As long as you
Absolutely.
try hard, you got a chance.
Right. And that's with anything in life.
Yeah.
So how long did you coach?
I did that for a year and a half. I did it for 2021 season, and then Broncos stepped down at the end of 2021 season, and that was a blow for me because I really
That's
looked up
right.
for him.
Right.
And that's no disrespect on the new head coach,
Of course.
Tony Elliott. I think he's good for those guys. But, it was a different vision. And I'm just like, all right, like I started having thoughts like, do I really want to do this still? And, other opportunities came about. So
That goes into my next question.
yeah,
So ultimately, you decided to leave the sports industry.
yeah.
And you said not too long ago that football was all you knew. So how did you come to that conclusion that this is not what I want to do anymore? If this is something you've been doing your entire life, and like you said, you had to sit down and have that conversation with yourself. Um, what made you choose to leave the industry?
Few things. I would say one, my kid. It was sometimes I was saying that year and a half. Like I said, I was there, but sometimes I'm wondering, like, yo, does he really like love me? Like, does he know I'm his dad? Like, for real, for real. And like with coaching, that's some long hours, long ass
I
hours. Like,
remember
you're
us
gonna be
having
in
those
there
conversations, right?
4 a.m. to like 10 p.m. some days.
And got to be back there at 4 a.m.
And like I said, I think ultimately sometimes I did feel like I was raising other people's kids more than mine. And I was like, all right, like, no, like I want to be like really involved with my kid. So one, time. Two, a lot of people don't talk about this. You go from my rookie year, you go from making $500,000 a year to being a GA making $25,000. You gotta stop the bleeding a little bit. So I'm like, all right,
That's a
do I
lot of
want to
bleeding.
like, yeah, that's a lot of
That's a
bleeding.
lot of
Yeah,
bleeding.
with a kid, and it's like, all right, like, do I want to continue this and like, bet on myself? And maybe in a year I'll be a P5 coach, G5 coach, or I got other opportunities coming about right now. Do I just take that opportunity? And try something new. You've been in a cage your whole life piece, a comfortable cage and a cage well, but step outside of it. The world's way bigger. And from 2020 to 2022 I traveled a lot, seen a lot. And I remember the first time I ever take a vacation was after my rookie year, and I went to Cali, Rodeo Drive, and I was just in disbelief. I went to New
You
York
was able to do
City.
whatever you felt like doing.
Yeah, and I was just like, yo, that's the
No
first
practice, no
that was the first thing I
game.
realized, like, yo, like this world is way bigger than what you think,
And it's like you said, like it's so much world, there's so
for
much to
sure.
see. And playing sports for so long and playing at a high level, the high level you did, you travel a lot, you see a lot. But people don't understand that you're not traveling to have fun.
Yeah.
You're traveling to make your money, to pay your bills, to feed your family, to pay somebody else's family. And like you said, that when you were traveling, what's going through your mind? Like, because you may have been to the same place that you've already been before, but it's a whole different experience. Because I know when I think about, I've been to Cali before, but I went to play basketball. So
Yeah.
in my mind, I don't count it because I went to play basketball.
Well, that's exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt too. Like, I'm like, all right, I've been to some of these places, but I haven't really experienced it. And I didn't get on my first flight till I was like 17, really at UVA. I wasn't like, I never went to clubs, none of that. And nothing, I wasn't really exposed to life, it was literally just football.
Mm-hmm.
And really that's not okay. Cause like I said, eventually,
Like gonna smack you.
yeah, you're gonna stop playing, whether it's by choice or you get hurt something, and then you gotta transition on. So for me, I think it was a blessing in disguise. I transitioned on so early, learned a lot, and got exposed to different peoples, cultures, different hobbies, and I just really kind of like think I started falling in love with myself in the sense I got to really tell you more about me rather than like, hey, I'm play with this team. Like, no, this is who I really am, what I'm about.
Standing up for yourself, knowing you are outside of your sport, and that's so, so important. So many athletes struggle with finding a new identity outside of the sport, as we're speaking
Yeah.
about. How did you go about reshaping yourself and discovering a new sense of purpose?
Trying new things. Like I said, like even if I in my head I'm like, what am I really doing here? Or like, what is this? Or, who are these people? Like, no, like I just really just started exposing myself to things I've never done before, things I've never ate before, things, hobbies I've never tried before, places I never tried before. I just, kind of was like turned into a yes man. I don't know if you ever seen that movie,
Yeah,
Yes Man. Nah, like I
yeah.
was just like, I'm just doing it all. Like I'm trying it all. That's the only way Imma like learn more.
When it comes to experiences, when it comes to trying new things, did you find new hobbies? Did you find new interests? Like, what did you figure out that Chris Peace likes outside of football? It's a whole world out there.
I figured out I like nature a little bit more than what I thought. You know, I really like doing hikes. I like going up the mountains, seeing a pretty view up top. I really like cooking now. TikTok, that's my TikTok recipes. I try something
Oh, you
new
be
all the
chefing
time.
it up.
Yeah. I can't swim, to save my life, but I
Yeah,
love being on the water,
we gonna teach you how to swim.
Yeah.
We
uh,
gonna teach you how to swim. All black men need to know how to swim.
yeah, boating activities, things of that sort. And really, something that's real underrated. I start my day with it every day. I go for a walk, and it just clears my head. Like no phone, no nothing, no music. Just go for a walk.
When did
Just
you
take it
start that?
all in. I started that guy named Vernon, real good friend of mine. So, he told me to do it while we were training every day to clear my mind. I started
No
in
phone, no nothing.
2021
And you do it every day.
every day. That's how I start
Weekends
my
too.
day. Yes, that's how I
Baby
start my
boy
day.
go with you?
Sometimes, if it's not too hot, and then he's going, to complain a little. But yeah,
Does he like being outside too?
he loves being outside.
Shout out to his dad. Being a young, active black father comes with some very unique challenges, from being a former athlete to being a single father, and responsibilities. How has fatherhood impacted your life and influenced your perspective on various aspects of life? I know you talked a little bit about coaching, and you see how you're raising other people's kids when you have your own child.
Yeah.
So how has that perspective changed?
I got to take in a lot over the years what I didn't like, what I didn't want to be. And, I kind of molded myself, I guess, into the ideal father I thought was good for him. That, and honestly, I would say the biggest lesson I learned of being a parent. I grew up kind of like, you know, not a rough background, but just a rough upbringing. It wasn't ideal, but I showered that kid with like all the love in the world, and I've gained and shown and went through emotions I didn't even know I had until like I've really been doing this parenting thing. And like it's hard as hell. Like shout out to single moms, like
Shout
really
out to
like
them, the
yeah,
queens.
like nah, it take a lot of energy and effort, but like, I wouldn't like trade it for the world to be honest. Like
Shout out to the kings too. You doing it. A young black active father for your age is not something that we see often. And I'm sure you have guys, you have teammates that are also going through that. And now, like even when you were coaching, did you have any kids, any players that had children?
no, keep in mind the type of kids we recruit at UVA. They're, swell
Talk
guys.
about
But no,
it. Talk
I
about
don't
it. They
think
gotta
I
fit
don't
the
think
they
I
gotta
don't
fit the
think
program. They
no,
gotta fit the program.
I don't know if I had a player there that had a kid at the time.
So throughout your journey, what are some of the most, we talked about your grandma, significant mentors, role models who help shape your career and personal.
The most important people in my life, one, my grandma. She set the foundation, she did everything for me, That's I love her to death. I'm gonna say my granddad too, from my dad's side. He showed me how to take care of your business and like he been standing on his feet like since, forever, really as long as I can remember. He's never, missed a game. He's always been there. And then of course my uncle for sure. Like father figure for sure. Like I respect the hell out of him. Like he guided me through a lot, like through life. I credit a big part for him. And one person I probably I tell him every now and then, just got off the phone before I got here, my best friend, Andrew. Andrew Brown,
Yeah.
shout out to him. Like that's a one like friend, like since like, grade school. I call him every single day. We keep each other alive, motivated, like love dude to death.
And how important is it to have that type of friendship? Like we all gotta have one, two. Some of us are blessed with three that might be pushing it. But just to have that type of rapport with another man to go through life with. I know as females, I adore my friends, but we're
Yeah.
also females. But as a male,
Super. And I think it's even more important when, you got to make sure that friend is comfortable, even telling you uncomfortable things, like when you're out of line, when you're falling in the wrong path, or like, you need to sit back, like relax, like, look at it like this perspective.
would you say that that friendship or that person has kept you grounded in some situation? Because when I think about my friends, um, I have friends that know things that nobody else knows about that I
Yeah.
went through,
Oh yeah.
where I was going through, whether it's school, whether it's playing ball, whether it's family situations. You always got to have that one person in the situation that you've gone through. Sometimes it's not easy to be there for someone to go through stuff like that. And as a man, sometimes your pride steps in.
You gotta have an outlet. You'll go crazy, Nah, it's very important to have a safe space to really express yourself, get those, sometimes dark thoughts out the way, get really like just let it out. I think that's important for anybody, not just a man, but especially
We all
like
need
men.
that.
Like you gotta have like that space where you can just let everything out. And, sometimes not even a person giving you an advice, but just like sitting there listening.
Just, yeah, just taking it all in. So now you are in finance.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what you do now.
So, I make a joke. Really, all I do, honestly, just show some teeth, crack a few jokes, maybe even talk about football a little bit, but simplify a few complicated terms or things that seem complicated.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm the director of client relations at the investment firm I work
They
at.
gave you a director role, and all you do is show teeth. All you do is show teeth.
A lot of it is a lot of reading and kind of just knowing like the base terms. Basically, the lead investor on the team, me and him, play. We work real close together. Everything he is thinking, everything he's doing, I got to kind of understand and relay that just in case a client comes along, or a new prospective client. Like, hey, this is what we do. This is what our firm is about. Just basically, making people feel at ease, being comfortable, smooching, that type of thing.
You didn't talk at one point.
Nah, I didn't. I was a mute.
So where did this come from? Now you're a director.
I would just say over those, kind of like when I like got out the NFL, just like I said, just like literally just talking to people, like, going to new places and just putting myself out there. And,
Right.
you just pick up on those skills. And like, I went to like 20 different high schools and, I played for these many different teams. You're around like all different types of
I'm
people. So
saying
now
now
it's
you
pretty
you
easy.
going to speak at Old Dominion, you're going to speak at schools, you're on a podcast. Working in finances, how do you relate that back into the sports community? Because I know you do a lot of community work, giving back, talking to athletes, talking to kids. How do you conjoin the two, rather?
Really like so a lot of these kids like I talk to, not just football, but like everybody wants to be a professional athlete. Whether you make it there or not, you're going to be in a professional setting one day. I don't think in college, not all, but I don't think most really college classes or universities really teach you the groundwork of finance in general. Like people
They
don't know,
don't.
like you can stretch, yeah, you can
I'm
stretch your
still
money in
learning.
you can stretch your money a few different ways. You can do this, put it in the right account, tips, apps, things like that. I just try to put them on game. I don't try to get too complex in it, just what you
Break it
need to know.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talking about finances, and we know you went from making a whole lot of money to a little bit of money. Did you save? Did you do what you were supposed to do when you was making big bank?
Oh yeah, for sure. Protecting myself actually, but yeah.
Was that something that was told to you, or that's something that you already had knowledge from, or is that something that I mean, we see all the time athletes blow money like it's nothing.
I think like because I wasn't exposed to a lot as a kid or didn't really go places or do too much when I got it. Like honestly, man, I remember my first game check. Like I like set the alarm in the morning because I was like, "Is this real? Like, if I really go get this?" I just went and got like really went to go get some food and called it a day. I'm always been frugal. I still drive like the same car from college. So now like
You gotta be.
I kind of just yeah, I guess I grew up kind of poor or broke and like I kind of just kept that same mentality. Let me just try to keep it all.
What they tell you to live underneath your means,
Yeah,
no matter how much you make, stay.
yeah.
That's it. Listen, we learning. We
But that one thing
learning.
that's gonna break your pocket though, kids expensive.
I ain't got. I ain't got there yet. So sport exposure is all about telling sport stories, sport experiences, giving back, setting a blueprint because you and I, we've both been in a lot of positions that a lot of kids would dream to be in. And we left those
Yeah.
positions. So we talk about sport exposure. Exposure can be good, exposure can be bad. What can you expose to help the generations after us to be better, to have better journeys, to excel, all of that?
I would say one thing, one of the most important lessons I've learned in life, number one, I'm gonna say, don't ever burn a bridge.
Ooh,
You know, um, you never know who you're talking to, what they're gonna mean years down the road, who they know. It all, life's full circle. You could be an asshole to the wrong person and like, mess up a whole opportunity off that. Like my job, for example, it literally started from a convo and I didn't even know that would pay dividends like 4 months later. So I say always just, be respectful, keep a calm head. I ain't gonna say kiss ass, but just, be respectful of that person. It takes nothing to be a nice person and, be a human being.
absolutely. Networking, networking, networking. Guys, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Today was great. Today we're going to end with our toast. Toast to a great episode. Toast to new beginnings,
For
overcoming
sure.
adversity, and sport
And
exposure.
congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much.